In Summary Task 3, you'll create your deliverables, which will be submitted as a multi-page Adobe PDF that includes your executive summary and map series with your vector, raster, and geostatistical analysis maps. Referring to Summary Task 3 in the Statement of Work, you'll draft a one-page executive summary that should describe in narrative the steps you used in the GIS analytical process to perform your feasibility analysis. It should describe the question you were trying to answer, identify the data you collected and assimilated to support your analysis, describe your approach for performing the analysis, describe your results, including findings like mean center distance to the Broad Street pump or deaths per hectare near the Broad Street pump, and then last, present the analysis as a series of maps. When writing your narrative, be sure to write in the active voice, efficiently, and in a conversational tone. Read your narrative aloud. If it sounds funny, rewrite it. Also, in the executive summary, be sure to identify and explain which of the three maps you believe presents the most compelling case when describing your results. In addition to the executive summary, you'll create a map series that includes 3 portrait 8.5 by 11 Adobe PDF maps that present your vector analysis, raster analysis, and geostatistical analysis. All maps in the series should include a consistent map scale and extent, layers with intuitive names, and the following consistently positioned map elements: a title and subtitle, legend with intuitive item descriptions, north arrow and scale with an intuitive divisional unit, a call out with quantified findings, and source note. You'll then combine the Adobe PDF executive summary and 3 map series documents into a single multi-page Adobe PDF document named using the standardized naming convention described in the statement of work and submitted to the course website by the due date. Now we're ready to create our map layouts, but before we do, we want to review our map views and make sure, for example, that we're satisfied with the symbology and the visual hierarchy, that our layer names are named with intuitive descriptions, and that the labels are set the way that we want. If we look in the raster analysis map view, for example, the death density raster layer is kind of a clunky name. I'm going to go ahead and rename it to deaths per hectare. All right, that looks a lot better. If you look at my map, my Broad Street pump label is a little bit lost in the map, so I'm going to select the pumps feature layer in the contents pane, and then on the context sensitive labeling ribbon, under text symbol, go to more options. And in my label class pane, I'm going to browse down to halo, and I'm going to add under halo symbol a white halo symbol. All right, that really brings it out on the visual hierarchy. That looks a lot better. But if I go to one of my other maps, you can see my label's lost a little bit. So I want to make sure that everything is consistent between all of my maps. So I'm going to right click on my pumps feature layer and select copy, and then jump over to my geostatistical analysis map, right click on my pumps feature layer again, and paste the properties directly into the map. So that copies the halo, which is a really nice aspect of ArcGIS Pro to be able to copy and paste the properties. Also want to update my feature layer names and my geostatistical analysis again. So I'm using intuitive names that my users and audience will understand. Now that's better. I want to do the same for my vector analysis map. Again, I'm just going to right click the pumps feature layer and basically paste the halos directly in, and then update my feature name. And then just to be consistent, I'm going to go ahead and do it in the base map as well. All right, that looks really great. Now we're ready to start creating our layouts. I'm going to start with the vector analysis map view. Make sure it's set exactly how I want. My scale looks good. And then now I'm ready to create my map. So I'm going to go to the Insert ribbon, and under New Layout, under ANSI Portrait, select letter 8.5 by 11, and that opens up a new layout view. And if I look over in the catalog pane, I can see it's added a layout section, and there's my layout. If I'm going to right click and rename it, go ahead and give it a logical name, in this case, vector space analysis. And that renames the item in the catalog pane, renames the tab in the layout view, and then renames the new element that's been added to my contents pane. Now I'm ready to start inserting elements. So I'm going to click on the Insert ribbon, and under Map Frame, click on the Map Frames drop-down button, and I'm going to scroll down until I find my Vector Analysis map frame. Select that, and then I'm going to click and drag a rectangle on my map and kind of rough it into my map. All right, that looks pretty good. And there I can see it listed as a new element in my contents pane. Now I'm going to right click the map frame element and select properties. And then under the element map frame properties, go to placement. And now I'm going to set absolute dimensions for my map frame because I roughed it in and I want to make sure that it's exact. So in this case, I want a 0.75 inch margin. And so I'm going to set the width to 7, the height to 8.5, and then the lower left corner for the X to 0.75 and for Y to 1.5. All right, that looks really great. Now I want to make sure that my map scale and view and my extent are set the way that I want, not only for this map, but for my other maps as well that I'm going to create. So I'm going to right click on the map frame and select Activate, and then click and drag the map so it's positioned and the extent is exactly how I want it. That looks pretty good. Oh no, I want to get rid of some of those labels at the top. All right, that looks really good. I've got my map laid out nicely. I've got my broad street in the middle. My scale is correct. 1 centimeter equals 30 meters. So now I'm going to set a bookmark. So on the map ribbon, I'm going to click on the bookmarks drop down and select new bookmark. I'm going to call this bookmark AOI for area of interest. And that's going to remember it for my vector analysis map, but also allow me to apply it in my other layouts that I create as well. Now I'm going to close the activation for my map view. And now I'm back in my layout view with my map frame. So on the insert ribbon, under graphics and text, now I'm going to insert my title by clicking on straight text and then selecting and roughing in again the location of my title. Now I'm going to type it in with my text selected, the ghost map, :space, a vector analysis. Now with my text element selected, either in the map or in the contents pane, that activates my text context sensitive ribbon where I can update the text properties, including, for example, the font. And I want to select a font that's kind of historic and maybe even a little ghostly. How about Corbel? And I'm going to reset the font size to a standard font size, say 24 points. All right, that looks pretty good. Now I want to add my subtitle, and I can do that using the same process, or I can just select an element, copy, and paste it. So I'm going to select my text element, right-click my layout again, and paste it. Now I'm going to reposition it. Double-click it, update the text. 1854 cholera outbreak in London's Soho neighborhood. All right, that looks good. And because I copy and pasted the element, it used the Cambria font. I just need to change the point size to reflect that this is a subtitle. So I'm going to use the down arrow on the point size till I get something that looks good. That looks pretty good right there. Now I need to reposition my elements. I'm going to use a guide to do that. So I'm going to add a guide by right-clicking on the ribbon and selecting Add Guide. And then I'm going to use that to snap my title in place in the upper left corner. All right, that looks pretty good. My subtitle, I want to adjust it a little bit more precisely. So I'm going to select it, hold the shift button on the keyboard, and then use the arrow keys to bump it. Or alternatively, I can hold the control and use the arrow keys to nudge it, which is a little bit more finer placement. All right, that looks really great. Now that I've got my title and subtitle in place, I'm ready to insert my legend. So again, I'm going to return to the Insert ribbon, and under Map Surrounds, click on the Legend button, and then rough in the location and placement of my legend. That looks good. I can see it listed in my layout view and also in my contents pane as a new element along with the items in that legend. I can turn items on and off. I don't want the ghost map on there, so I'm going to turn that off. I can also reorder the items. I'm going to drag deaths up to the top so it's presented first. And then if I right click on an item and go to the properties, I can calibrate that individual item. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and turn off the heading. And then under type, for graduated symbology, I'm going to use horizontal. All right, that looks really great. I just need to finalize the size and position of my legend. And there it accidentally snapped to the bottom of my map frame. I don't want it exactly there. I want a little white margin, so I'm going to use my arrow keys to position it in place while holding the shift or control button. That looks good.